Hello everyone, welcome back. This is RandoGEEK. I have this interesting article here from Fierce Network. I'm going to link it for you guys down below. You should definitely check it out when you have some time if you want to read the whole article. Some good points here, but I'm going to talk about the things that matter the most here, what I think is the most interesting, and we certainly have some interesting statements made here by a few people, but one from Olfa Walden. I think he actually made two, but these are nonetheless interesting statements that are made by him and also Chetan Sharma Consulting. So we did a video a few days ago covering Ookla's test results, measuring 5G coverage over a 5-year span. It was 2019 to 2025. During that testing, rural and urban coverage, as far as 5G service goes, was measured with all three carriers, T-Mobile, at&t, and Verizon. Interestingly enough, T-Mobile took the bag when it comes to both urban and rural coverage. That may become a shocker to many of you when you heard me say rural coverage. You may be confident in the fact that T-Mobile's network does very well and may sometimes outperform the competition in urban areas, especially depending on where you live. But rural has always been questionable when it comes to T-Mobile's service. Strangely enough, it's doing the best. When we break down the testing results, the numbers, it's all pointing in favor of T-Mobile. Now, there was an interesting statement here, okay, made by Olfa Walden, okay? He says in this article, he says that this is just the beginning because there's more to come. He says T-Mobile remains the only major carrier with a nationwide 5G standalone network. He says, while our competitors only have deployed in a handful of cities. With its core network, 5G standalone is true 5G and paves the way for new services that will be critical for 5G Advanced and 6G. So they're already planning for 6G, which, we're not there yet. Okay. Enough said there. We're not ready for that. Certainly not. So the fact that they're leading in rural areas on both availability and 5G standalone deployments at this stage is a good sign for their future prospects, he says. So now we have Chetan Sharma, president of Chetan Sharma Consulting, who goes on to say about T-Mobile that T-Mobile's low and mid-band coverage has vastly improved coverage in rural areas during the 5G cycle. Then he says, users' perceptions take a long time to change, but T-Mobile seems to have leveled up with Verizon when it comes to network quality and is likely to surpass it due to the Starlink announcement as the coverage holes in the network can become a thing of the past. So what I find interesting is that he acknowledges the coverage holes, which, a lot of you say T-Mobile has. For me, it's yes and no, right? The coverage holes it was something very noticeable for me, even in just outside in rural areas. I personally am not seeing that as much. It's still there here and there, but I also kind of feel like it's there with all carriers. I feel like I get that sometimes with at&t, sometimes I get that with Verizon, to be fair, okay? And that's just my testing, my experience. You'll have your own, and then, that's what makes you you, and that's why you choose the carrier that you choose because of your experience with them. That's what really matters, okay? But nonetheless, I find it interesting that their answer is Starlink. Now, I was going to say that, more to come would, in my mind, be more like we're going to build out more, or that at least with the acquisition of US Cellular, which is definitely going to happen, they're going to inherit a lot of coverage in more rural areas that they don't have that presence in. So that's going to make T-Mobile's network stronger because they're going to be able to tap in to coverage areas there on those cell sites and bring coverage to T-Mobile customers or attract new T-Mobile customers by doing so. They'll have more of that rural presence, which is, for me, the one thing that I felt that T-Mobile was lacking in. But he's saying Starlink, which is not even really there yet. And testing for some has been good. Some are still debating whether or not they need it, they want it. Certainly, it's not worth the price right now. You're not really getting any service at the moment. Maybe when it becomes a little bit more advanced and you can do more than just text somebody and you're not paying $15 a month for it, I think then, maybe it'd be worth it. I also think that right now, since they're acknowledging that there are holes in the network in certain areas and they're trying to use Starlink to kind of fill in those gaps. I don't think you should be paying anything for Starlink just because the network isn't available for you there. So that's another thing in itself. Okay. So this is real interesting to me, which is why I think that you guys might find this interesting because you're going to probably have words. You're probably going to have feelings about this. A statement made so bold, if you ask me. It's a very bold statement to make. And to kind of say that, you know, they have the best coverage. I don't know, like, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Do you guys feel like T-Mobile has gotten better? Do you feel like you could call them a carrier that you now can depend on as where maybe before you couldn't? It's very questionable for some. My experience, like I said, the network does seem better, but I'm very curious to know what you guys think about this. The statements made, the response to how they plan on kind of putting a band-aid over the areas that need work using Starlink, because I know how many people are already disapproving of Starlink, which is why I'm basically directing that at you. I want to know what you think about their answer to that. We also do have to consider, the possibilities of the testing. T-Mobile had a lead when it comes to Sprint. Purchasing Sprint gave them a very big head start. And then there's the whole thing with the, being that the testing with Ookla went back so long ago, over 5 years, you have to consider the fact that, the types of plans that were available early on from T-Mobile, their network was a little cheaper at the time, and their plans might have been considered beefier. So there's more value for customers, could be why they were spending more time on the network. There was more to spend time with. If you were getting free perks and benefits like Netflix, etc., well, of course you're going to be on there, right? You're getting free services, you're paying your monthly bill, you want to milk the company for whatever you can. And that's just the way of, that's how customers do things. They're going to, same thing with testing. Nobody needs to use 1 terabyte of data. In 99% of cases, you'll never need to use that much data. It's a want, not a need. So customers are going to take what they can get and they're going to try to get as much of it while they can. And that is something that we have to consider with the testing too. It could also be that more of T-Mobile customers are comfortable with having Ookla or OpenSignal track them and allow for testing. It's possible that more AT&T and Verizon customers are more low key, don't want them in their business, and don't have that turned on as frequently. So maybe Ookla can't get enough results out of them. There's a lot of things we have to consider. But personally, I do think that T-Mobile's trying. I think that they've done a lot better when it comes to rural coverage from my experience. Really, for me, and it's the same thing that's kind of always been. So I guess we can kind of blame it on the network and say that they maybe need some more low and mid band, which would maybe, make indoor coverage a little bit more accessible. There are certain areas where T-Mobile seems to be, at very, equal in some cases with say AT&T or Verizon indoors. Cause I kind of get the same results with all carriers. Sometimes AT&T will be a little spotty in certain parts of a building. Same thing with Verizon. I've noticed Verizon, like certain buildings, like certain areas, like they act funny as well. Like I kind of get that experience from all of them. Particularly an elevator or something is where I'll kind of see T-Mobile conk out first. But I get I get spotty service with the other two. It's not like they're perfect. Like it's perfect, clear call the whole ride through. So, it really is about, there's a lot of things we have to consider. Yes, the availability, right? Maybe they're not building enough. They don't have enough low band, mid band around where the testing is being done. Maybe it's certain kinds of materials that are in that building that are, blocking. Maybe the concrete, the metal, all the materials are not allowing the coverage to penetrate through the walls. Maybe there's not enough windows. These are all things that we can consider as well. To be fair, if we're going to try to hear both sides of the story, give the benefit of the doubt kind of thing, we can use all this as information as well. But interesting stuff here. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and please hit that like button on your way out. Have a good day. Bye for now.